If you have an unquenchable thirst to crush your bucket list, relentlessly pursue your dreams, and live life on your own terms, then turn up the volume and tune in. You're now listening to Zeph and Moses Blacksburg on the Year of Purpose podcast.
This episode of the Year of Purpose is brought to you by our brand new book, Life Rescripted. Find your purpose and design your dream life before the curtains close. If you want to be the first in line to receive a free digital copy from me, all you have to do is head on over to www.liferescriptedbook.com to find out more. Hey everyone, this is Zeph Blacksburg here, host of the Year of Purpose podcast, and I'm here with Hal Elrod. And Hal, he's the #1 best-selling author of what is now being widely regarded as one of the most life-changing books ever written, titled The Miracle Morning, the not-so-obvious secret guaranteed to transform your life before 8 a.m. It is also one of the highest-rated books on Amazon with over 900 5-star reviews. Hal, how's it going today?
It's going well, Zeph. Thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. So your book, first of all, has been inspirational in my life only because after implementing a routine that you recommend in there, it's allowed me to write my book, and I've used it quite often so that I can become more productive. So first of all, thank you so much for that. And, you know, for anyone listening in who hasn't heard of your book, The Miracle Morning, available on Amazon and I'm sure a ton of other places online and in bookstores, definitely worth the read. But this all kind of starts with your story. You know, you at the age of 20 experienced something that you could consider it a miracle. And so I'd love to have you share that just briefly with everybody, and then we'll jump into the book.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was 20 years old, I was in sales. I had gone from being a radio DJ, DJing on the air, which was like my dream. And then a buddy of mine was selling Cutco kitchen knives. And he used to always bug me and say, "Hal, dude, you'd be great at selling Cutco, And I was like, "Dude, I'm a radio DJ. I'm not a salesman at all." And long story short, I took the gig. Longer story short, 10 days later, I broke this all-time company record where I had sold $15,000 of kitchen knives in 10 days, and which was more than almost anyone in the company had ever done. And a year and a half later, as one of the top salespeople for the company, I was always asked to give speeches. And after a speech one night, I was driving home, and I was in my brand new Ford Mustang, which at 20 years old, that was the dream car that I could afford, sort of thing, right? Wasn't the Ferrari, but it was up there. And driving home that night, my car was hit head on by a drunk driver at 70 miles an hour. And the worst was actually yet to come, as my car spun off the drunk driver and the car behind me crashed into my door at 70 miles an hour. And I died for 6 minutes. I bled to death on the side of the freeway after they took them an hour to get me out of the car. Was in a coma for 6 days, broke 11 bones. And when I came out of the coma, I was facing a pretty unimaginable reality. I was told I would never walk again. I had permanent brain damage. I, again, had 11 broken bones. And I just, had to choose how I was going to respond to what had happened to me. And, there's that old saying, everything happens for a reason. But I think what I figured out was that the reason isn't predetermined like we're often conditioned to think. We go, why did this happen to me? And we're asking, I don't know, our friends or family or God, and actually looking for an answer that is predetermined, when the reality is I realize that everything happens for a reason, but it is our responsibility to choose the reason. We can choose reasons that are victim reasons, like, oh, bad things happen to me all the time, I'm unlucky, and blah, blah, blah. Or we go, you know what? This sucks. This is the worst thing that ever happened to me, but I'm going to make this my greatest comeback. I'm going to use this adversity, turn it into an advantage. I'm going to help other people. I'm going to however you want to do that. But so for me, I just realized that I can't change what happened to me, which that's true for all of us. Everything that's ever happened in our lives, you can't go back in time and change it, right?
Right.
Unless you're Marty McFly with a DeLorean, it is what it is. So you can either feel bad about it or sad about it or depressed about it or get angry or whatever, or the only intelligent choice is you accept all things that you can't control, and you only focus on all of your energy, all of your emotions, only focus them on the things that you have control over. And so I decided, you know what? If I never walk again, I'll be the happiest person you've ever seen in a wheelchair, because if I'm in a wheelchair, I might as well be happy. But I'm not going to put my energy into my fear. I don't want that to be that's the worst case scenario, never walking again. So I'm going to accept that so it doesn't have any control over my emotions. but I'm going to focus all my energy into walking again because that's what I want. So I thought about walking. I visualized it. I dreamt about it. I prayed about it. I talked about it. That's where I accepted the worst case scenario. So, but put no energy into it once I accepted it. And I don't think it's a coincidence that 3 weeks after the crash, my femur broke in half, my pelvis broke in 3 places, and 2 weeks after I came out of the coma and was being told I'd never walk again, the doctors came in with routine x-rays, Zephan, and they said, we don't know how to explain this, but your body is healing like at an incredible rate, and we're going to let you take your first step in therapy tomorrow.
Oh, man.
So yeah, it went from like never walk again to 3 weeks later, and I took my first step, and the rest is kind of history, as they say. I left the hospital after 2 months. I got back to work in my sales job. I finished that year as the number 6 rep in our company, and to me it was, it wasn't about me. It was just going like, hey, this is universally true for any human being on the planet, that we accept what we can't change, be grateful for everything that we have, and then focus every day on making progress towards our goals, our dreams, our highest vision for our life. And when we do that, you can't fail.
Yeah, and a lot of it, it sounds like there's a lot of positive attracts positive here, right? Like you could have stayed in bed and been all, woe is me, why did this happen to me, this negative thing, and stayed in that sort of negative mindset. Or, you can choose to say, all right, well, here's where I am, and I don't have to accept the script of how this is supposed to play out or what people think is going to happen, which, in your case, people thought it would take longer to recover. And for you, you recovered amazingly much faster than most. And so I think it's a lot of positive attracts positive, and also not really accepting the script of what other people would settle for, right?
Yeah. And I always say that positive thinking doesn't solve your problems, but it puts you in a peak physical, mental, and emotional state to solve your own problems. And that's really what it is. Not to mention all the metaphysical benefits of the law of attraction. There's definitely truth to that. I believe the mind-body connection. I don't think that it's a coincidence that my positive thinking and my profoundly fast recovery, I think there's a correlation. I don't have any graphs to show you, but I would imagine that it's been proven that our mind can literally manipulate our cells, right? I mean, we can cause disease with our thinking, negative thinking, and stress, or we can cause healing with positive thinking. And so, I think there's so many benefits of focusing on what you want and accepting what you don't want. It's arguably one of the most important kind of mindsets that we can adopt.
Exactly. And so at some point through all of this, you actually went on to run a 52-mile ultra marathon. Is that right?
Yeah, I was, being told I was never going to walk again, and then I was walking again, and then it was actually one of the things that you wanted to talk about today is the miracle morning, and that's where that 52-mile ultra marathon, became a possibility. In 2008, when the U.S. economy crashed, at that time was, I don't know, what you would probably consider average, or most people would consider successful by most standards, in terms of my income was I had just left my sales career. I left a $100,000 a year position to be an entrepreneur. There was risk involved, but after a couple of years, I was back up to almost where I was income-wise. I had bought a brand new house, brand new car, and I was living my dreams. I wanted to be an author. I wrote my first book, Taking Life Head On. I wanted to be my big dream was to be a professional speaker. I had started giving my first speech for $2,500, so I was starting that. And then I launched a coaching business. I was doing sales coaching, business coaching in my mid-20s, and bought a brand new house, bought a sports car, and met the woman of my dreams. I was in the best shape of my life physically. In fact, I was 5.7% body fat, which wow. I used to always joke, I'm going to get 5.7% tattooed on my bicep or something. So it's I was everything. I was working so hard in every area. I was happy. And when the economy crashed, I lost everything. Well, not lost everything, but I lost my house. I had to short sell my house. I went from being debt free to not having enough money. I lost over half my clients. So I had to live on my credit cards. And I went from being a debt free Dave Ramsey student to having a $53,000 credit card balance in 6 months. And just it was getting worse every day. And so for the first time in my life, I got deeply depressed. To the point of thoughts of suicide. I hated my life, and because I felt hopeless, because I kept trying to fix it. It's I would accept it. Okay, I'm at this low point. It's only going to get better. Then it got worse, and then I'm okay, all right, this is my rock bottom. I'm only going to, I'm going to fix it. I'm going to change it. And then I lost another client, and on and on and on. And so To keep another long story a little bit shorter, I had an epiphany. I went on a run. I hated running, and a friend of mine said, "Hal, if you want to fix your life, dude, you need to exercise. Go for a run every day and listen to an audiobook on business. You can figure out how to get more clients and turn it around." And I didn't think it was, I was kind of like, well, I'm desperate, I'll do it, but I just want some advice on making money, like in getting my business going. I don't want to go for a run every day. And on my first run, I heard a quote from Jim Rohn that turned everything around, Zephan, and it turned it around faster than I ever thought possible. Or at least this was the catalyst for turning it around. Jim Rohn said, "Your level of success will seldom exceed your level of personal development." And in that moment, I realized, I'm not dedicating time every day to my personal development to become the person that I need to be to create the success I want in my life. I'm just waking up, going into my office, working all day long, and going to bed, right? And then maybe watching some TV in the evening before. That's it. And so I had this epiphany. I'm going to go home and I'm going to figure out what do the world's most successful people do every day for personal development. Like, what are the most effective personal development practices known to man? And I'm going to pick like the top one or two, and I'm going to start doing those. And after an hour at home kind of researching online to figure this out, I couldn't narrow it down to one or two. There was this list of 6 that you've heard of all of them. I mean, it's silence, meditation, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and journaling, or what I call scribing. And none of those were new to me. So I was kind of disappointed, like, man, I was looking for like the quick fix, like, the cutting edge thing that I didn't know about. These are like the oldest practices known to man, right? And then it hits me. Number 1, I don't do these every day. Number 2, what if I did all of these? Like, none of the research I did showed me any human being on the planet that was doing more than 2 or 3 of those. I thought, What if I did all 6? That would be the ultimate routine. I woke up the next morning, even though I wasn't a morning person, I did all 6. And to wrap this up, first of all, that morning I felt unstoppable. And what's interesting is, and this is what everybody reports with the Miracle Morning, is it's like day 1 is a game changer. And you're like, holy cow, if I feel like this every day, dude, it's only a matter of time before my outer world reflects the way that I feel. And it was less than 2 months that I more than doubled my income. I went from being in the worst shape of my life to exactly what you mentioned, which is I thought, what could the Miracle Morning, like, how could I really implement level, how could I get my fitness at the highest level? And I thought, I'm going to do an ultra marathon, 52 miles in one day. And I started it right away or started training. And 5 months later, I completed it in one day. And maybe most importantly, my mental and emotional state, I went from being depressed and hopeless and scared in a scarcity mindset to feeling unstoppable. And that didn't take 2 months. It was day 1. So with the financial, the physical, and the mental and emotional turnaround happening so fast, I started calling it my Miracle Morning, but it was never going to be a book. And then the rest is kind of history, as they say. I told a coaching client, she had amazing results. I told all my coaching clients, they all had amazing results. And then I was like, I've got to turn this into a book. And now it's, I don't even know how to explain it, but I mean, I have multimillionaires. Robert Kiyosaki reached out to me a couple months ago and told me he's read the book 3 times. Wow. He's on day 60. It's completely not only changed his life, but it's changed his marriage. And this is somebody that's worth like $80 million, best-selling author, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so what I realized is that this is so effective and equally universal, meaning if you're at rock bottom like I was, or you have an $80 million net worth and you're a best-selling author, or you're anywhere in between, right? Like, it is applicable to everybody. It's pretty wild.
And I think one of the things that I really enjoyed about it was that it's very simple. It's not like it's this crazy, like, jump up and down, pat your head and rub your stomach at the same time sort of thing. Like, the principles are there, right? And I'm sure a lot of people had considered things like this at one point in time, whether it's, exercise or reading or anything like that. But I feel like that reminder of having you there and putting it into this, easy to use 60-minute, if not even shorter routine, made it much simpler. And I think, remind me or correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I pulled this from your book, having a glass of water next to your bedside at night and drinking it as soon as you wake up in the morning. I actually haven't stopped doing that from the first time I actually read the book.
Nice.
And
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, just something as small as that. I mean, there's a huge change there that happens.
It's something that, and I learned this from Eben Pagan. Eben Pagan is a mentor of mine, and he, in fact, I need to reach out to him. I want to get him we're doing the Miracle Morning movie we just started filming.
Yeah.
And we got Robert Kiyosaki in it, James Altucher, John Lee Dumas, Pat Flynn, and Eben. Anyway, I'm just like thinking out loud. He's somebody that I really want to get in the movie because he inspired me when I was writing the book. But he taught me that, and it was basically the idea that when we wake up in the morning, you haven't drinking any water for like 6, 7, 8 hours, so you're dehydrated by default. And dehydration and fatigue go hand in hand. So most people don't drink water first thing in the morning. In fact, they drink coffee, which is a diuretic, which further dehydrates you. So you wake up dehydrated, and then you drink something that dehydrates you, right? So yeah, so for me, I down a glass of water like I was a college kid at a keg party. You know what I mean? Like I just pound it, and then I fill it up again, and I start on my second glass first thing when I wake up. So immediately I'm hydrated. And for those people that like to snooze, I don't hit the snooze button very often. But if I do, I wake up and I down that full glass of water, then I snooze for 10 minutes so that 10 minutes later, my body's hydrating.
Very smart. So that actually brings me to a good point here because, obviously the whole routine is laid out in the book, The Miracle Morning, and everyone definitely needs to check that out. But I have to ask, what do you do or what do you say for people when, like, let's say they start it, right? And they've been in it for 3-4 days. They're really struggling. Some people they struggle way more with making new routines than others. For people like me, it's simple. I jump right in and I'm in it and it's great. But for some people, they really do have a hard time with it. So just what's your advice or tips with, sticking to this and holding yourself accountable?
So the one of the most important chapters in the book it's called From Unbearable to Unstoppable. And it's how to implement any habit or integrate any habit into your life in 30 days. And for me, I've been a coach for a long time. I have a group coaching program with 200 members, so I'm always creating content for them. And I've realized that one of the most important things that for us to be able to master as human beings is the ability to change a habit, right? And either get rid of a bad habit or implement a new positive habit. But most people suck at it. You think about like New Year's resolutions. All a New Year's resolution is a new habit, right? I want to quit smoking. I want to start exercising, whatever. And great example of how bad we are at that is if you go to the gym, like the first week of January, like January 4th, it's packed, right? With all these people with New Year's resolutions. But like go to the gym 2 weeks later and half the parking lot is empty, right? Because people don't know how to stick to a routine or stick to a habit. So in the book, I teach the psychology of this and how to, like, the most effective way to implement a new habit. The first 10 days, there's 3 10-day phases, and I'll just briefly go over these. But the first 10 days is the unbearable phase. The second, and I'll explain what these are, but the second 10 days is the uncomfortable phase, and the third 10 days is the unstoppable phase. And here's what it looks like. Days 1 through 10, and of course, the days could be off by a couple days, but for the most part, days 1 through 10, a new habit often feels unbearable, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I'm not a morning person. I can't get out of bed, or like when I was training for that ultra marathon, I hated running. So the first 10 days, every thought was like, oh my God, I hate this. And my body aches and I'm not a runner, and but here's the thing, because we're never told that, and we wake up on day 1 all optimistic. Usually the first few days people are like fired up, if they're excited about the new habit. Like Miracle Morning, people always go, dude, like I didn't start unbearable. Like I was on fire. I'm like, yeah, it starts that way, but you will hit a lull. Maybe it's on day 4 or 6 or whatever, but you'll go, all right, the initial excitement wore off, and now I'm just realizing, this is something that's out of my comfort zone. And what happens is, if you go into a new habit that you're trying to change or implement with this awareness, that is the game changer. Because if you don't know that it's unbearable for 10 days, then on day 4, you're like, oh my God, I gave it 4 days. I gave it a valiant effort, but it's still, I hate it. I guess I'm not meant to be this person, or, you know what I mean? And so you throw in the towel. But if you know the first 10 days are going to be unbearable, I'm committed for 30 days because I know that in 30 days I'll be a different person and the habit will be easy to sustain. So let me ask you a question. Zephin, if you know a habit can change your life for the better, can you do anything for 10 days even if it's difficult?
Oh, 100%.
Of course, right? But if you're not aware, you don't know that you need to be committed at that level for that long. So first 10 days are unbearable. Second 10 days are uncomfortable. And what that means is it's still not a picnic. It's still easier to not do it than to do it, whatever that habit is. And that's where you have to stay committed, right? You got to go, okay, I'm still not a runner yet. I still kind of don't really like it. But the beauty of it is it's no longer unbearable. You're not hating it. You're not like defying it with every fiber of your being. You're just kind of like, I don't really want to do it, right? So it's not as hard, but people can often throw in the towel at that point too, because they take a couple days off or whatever. And then finally, the unstoppable phase, days 21 through 30. Here's what this looks like. This is where you wake up one day, and whatever your new habit is, if maybe it's actually waking up early, there's no resistance. There's no hating it. There's not even any, it's not even uncomfortable. In fact, it's the opposite. You're fired up. Here's how this looked for me. Days 1 through 10 of running, I hated it. Days 11 through 20, I'm like, I'm still not a runner. Am I ever going to like this? And then somewhere around day like 23, 24, I woke up, I went over, I laced up my running shoes, put on my shorts, and I headed out the front door with a smile on my face, fired up to run. And then I didn't realize it, or it was like a few minutes into the run when it hit me, I went, wait a minute. Like, I want to be here right now, right? I'm like, weird. I want to run. Last week, I didn't like this. 2 weeks ago, I freaking hated it. Now I actually want to do it. And here's the question. This is pretty rhetorical, but you can answer it, Zephan. Is it hard to continue doing something that you are now enjoying doing?
Not really.
No, and so that's the power of it, and that's why the Miracle Morning, we have tens of thousands of people. I mean, I think we're over 100,000 people now that do the Miracle Morning every day around the world, and over 70% of those people, I've surveyed them, they have said, before the Miracle Morning, I was not a morning person in my entire life. Most of them said, I've tried to become a morning person multiple times. I failed every time until the Miracle Morning. And so, so I'm not sure how to wrap that up, but that's really it. That's really it. So people, if they understand that it's 30 days, stay committed, understand the emotions you're going to go through. First 10 days will feel unbearable. Second 10 days are uncomfortable, and then stick with it. Be optimistic, think positively. Somewhere between day 21 and 30, you will hit a stride. You will be fired up. And the reason I call it unstoppable is because, like you just said, it's not hard to continue doing something that you no longer resist doing. You're actually enjoying it. You become a runner. You become an early riser. You become someone that identifies with that new habit as part of who you are.
And I would certainly personally endorse all of that, only because I had never seen myself as a writer. I always hated writing. And then about 2 months ago, I set out to write and publish my own book. And as I was telling you just before we jumped on the call, I've got about 165-page rough draft sitting here waiting to go to the editor. And, I'd never expect myself to be able to do something like that had it not been for, creating this routine where I sit there and have a dedicated time and space to write, just about anything, just to see where it goes.
That is exciting, man. Very, very exciting.
Yeah, man. Well, thank you so much for being here. Would love to share with everyone, where's the best place to get the Miracle Morning? Where's the best place to keep track of you and things that are going on? I know you've got a movie that you're working on, so just share with everybody, where's the best place to find out all that info?
Yeah, the Miracle Morning, the book, the best place to get the book is Amazon. Unless you're an iBooks user, you can get it on iBooks. But otherwise, Amazon.com, you can pick one of 3 formats. You can get the paperback, you can get the Kindle, or you can get the audiobook. So all of that is the Miracle Morning, the book on Amazon. And then my website, if you want to reach out to me, halelrod.com. Depending on when this airs, we are putting on a live event in San Diego, a 2-day event called Best Year Ever Blueprint. It's our second one. Last year, 200 people had their lives radically transformed. That's not no hyperbole, like really profound changes for people. And this year we're doing it again. That website is bestyeareverlive.com. And right now, if you go, there's early bird pricing and all of that. So, and then last but not least is I would invite everybody in your that's listening, Zephan, to the Miracle Morning Community Facebook group. We created this Facebook group, or I created it when the Miracle Morning book came out a couple years ago, and I am blown away by how supportive and engaged our community is. There's over 20,000 people in there now. Over 100 people a day join from all over the world, and they just support each other. Like, people will come in and go, I've got this challenge, and I've seen people get, like, by the end of the day, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 comments from fellow community members. And sometimes these are people that it's like their first day in the community. They like I'm new here, and I'm, does anybody have any advice on this topic? So anyway, everybody, the Miracle Morning community, join it on Facebook, and I check in there almost every single day. So I'll look for everybody's posts.
Awesome, and I'm a member of that as well, and so I definitely find it to be a great resource to have. If you're wasting time on Facebook, it might as well be in a place like this, because these people are really there to help you. And Hal, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate that you took the time out. And for everyone listening in, check out The Miracle Morning on Amazon.
Cool, brother. Thanks so much, Zephan, and everybody that tuned in. Yeah, thank you so much for your time, and I hope to see you in the Miracle Morning community on Facebook. Oh, and in San Diego, if you can come to the Best Year Ever Blueprint live event, love to see you in person.
Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you soon. This episode of The Year of Purpose is brought to you by our brand new book, Life Rescripted. Find your purpose and design your dream life before the curtains close. If you want to be the first in line to receive a free digital copy from me, all you have to do is head on over to www.liferescriptedbook.com to find out more. I've discovered what I think is the world's most effective process to design your path in life. It'd be a shame if I didn't share it. In Life Rescripted, you will discover the #1 strategy for determining your life purpose and how you can start a new path today, the 5X life hack rule for accomplishing your dreams and designing your life on your own terms 5 times faster, the ultimate solution for fear and how you can leverage it right now to make this year your best year yet, and so much more. Reserve your spot in line to get a free copy at www.liferescriptedbook.com, and I will see you in the next episode.